want to introduce Susan McMahon, which I think most of you know Susan from one of her various incarnations in town. She was a longtime staff and assistant director at the Wyndham Regional Commission, did terrific work for many of us on brownfields, cleaning up hazardous sites, especially in Brattleboro and in downtown and other community areas. Then she moved a couple years ago, Susan, 2 or 3, was appointed the executive director of the Landmark Trust USA, which in addition to having other places, is the home of Nalaka up on Old Dummerston. Wait a minute, what's the road?
Kipling Road.
Kipling Road. How could I even forget? But she will tell you a little bit about that. She's done a terrific job. I have been really fortunate to be asked to be on their board and have really seen the terrific work that Susan and her team are doing. So without further ado, Susan McMahon.
Hello. I'm going to put up a presentation, but I'm going to be really more speaking to it and less making you read it. But you know, a lot of people, as Chris said, knew me for my planning work, but one of my passions was always historic preservation. So when this opportunity came around about 2.5 years ago, I jumped on it, and it really allows me because the Landmark Trust USA is, even though we're well known for our Vermont properties, we are finally growing, and we're beginning to expand into other parts of New England. So I know some of you probably have seen presentations, so I'm going to try to go quickly through the information on who we are, but a little bit, because I'm sure there's some people that don't quite understand. So let me get to my share screen. Let me get to my PowerPoint and get it to from the start. Can everyone see that okay? Okay. So that's just a picture of historic Nalaka, probably when Kipling was there or maybe a little bit afterwards, but we'll get into that in a moment. So just how we were started. Some of you may be familiar with the Landmark Trust located in England, which has over 200 properties throughout England, Scotland, Wales, Italy, and France. In the early 90s, the founding director was working over there, the founding director for Landmark Trust USA, and brought to the attention of the founders, Sir John Smith and Lady Christian Smith, of Landmark Trust UK, Nalaka. You can imagine there was quite a nexus between, you know, Britain and Rudyard Kipling's home. So they came over, we were part of Landmark Trust UK for a number of years as they got us started. They were our partners for the Nalaka and a couple other properties. But once we got some really good even footing and we were doing well, we separated, but we still have a relationship with them. They're kind of like our big sibling, or, you know, we call them up for advice. They have a lot of experience. They've been around since 1960 when this concept came up, which I'll get into in a little bit. But really, we're both historic preservation organizations that really, you know, we're not every historic property that's important can be made into a you know, house museum. In fact, a house museum is a hard way to long-term maintain a property. So this whole concept is really, by having people stay in the property, you are able to then, you know, cycle the money back into the property, and it allows us to meet our mission. And our mission includes, you know, basically creative and sustainable uses. We mostly have, and I'll get into our properties in a second, is places that people can stay in, but we also own Scott Farm. A lot of people don't realize that. We are the owner of a business. A nonprofit owns a business Scott Farm. So that's another way that we are able to expand our mission. We do educational programs. I think a lot of people in the Brattleboro area are familiar. We have these Just So stories where kids from grades 3rd and 4th through southeastern Vermont would come to Nalaka, and then we would have them write Just So stories. And we like to partner with other community groups. Just this summer, we're going to be doing concert with Arun. I'm going to butcher his last name. He's a famous Indian violinist. We're going, next stage is doing the concert on Nalaka's lawn. So just another way, when we go into communities, we don't want to just be someone making money. We want to be part of the community and give back to the community. Those are the properties we currently hold. And when we open them up, and we are now in expansion mode, and we could really expand anywhere in the United States, being Landmark Trust USA, but our board really sees the wisdom in trying to expand in New England first. So we have a couple of properties in the pipeline, which we're excited about, and hopefully there'll be some news soon. Just real quickly, so you can just see, that's Nalaka today. We just got done with the Rhododendron Tour, which was highly successful. It's one of our large fundraising events that we let people come in, see the house, and then wander the grounds. And this picture, I don't have the pictures yet from the current one. It is absolutely stupendous this year. And it's still blooming. So it's really gorgeous. But just to say, it takes money. We, in this case, we had the deep pockets of Landmark UK. It was a couple $1 million when we received Nalaka. There were raccoons in the basement, and we brought, the Holbrooks, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. They are the ones who we purchased. We don't normally purchase properties, but this one was an important property. We purchased it, and there was some additions done by the Holbrooks, which we left some on, but most of them we brought back to Rudyard Kipling's day, which is a little different on how we totally do our properties. Normally our properties do show the historic transitions, but this one was such an important, it's actually, we had it nominated as a national landmark, which we only have a couple in Vermont. Anyway, just some pictures of Nalaka. When they left behind, when Rudyard Kipling left, not the Holbrooks, they left behind some of the furniture, and you can see in the back that wonderful banquet is an original piece from Kipling's days. Another property that some of you may be familiar with, it's one of my favorite properties because it has an amazing view across to Scott Farm, is the Dutton Farmhouse. And again, I'm not going to bore you with all of our properties. You have to come stay in them to see them. But just to show you, the detail that goes. This is an example that we actually worked and we actually sent over to England to get copies of the original wallpaper. And again, this is what you see today. And so people really get, and it's not just staying in a place, it's also an experiential visit. You really get to live in the property for how long, some of our minimums are 2 days, some are 3 days, but you really get to live in it and experience and get to understand what's behind it. And we also leave information on how we've restored our properties. But, later, I'm sorry, let me get back to that. There we go. And so, this is our stewardship model. We really depend on people staying in our properties, as well as other fundraisers. That it covers the maintenance, the larger capital needs. We still need to, such as Nalaka is going to have a new cedar roof put on it, but it's almost 30 years. So that's not bad for a cedar roof. But our painting, our upkeep, our generally, it just comes from people stay, and we will continue that. What our analysis shows us that at a minimum, we need to have a 60% not, to really, really cover it, we need to have 60% to really make our stewardship model work. And this year, we are really, even though it was COVID, and I'll show you in a moment, we're really making it. The only property that really suffered was Nalaka, because it's such a big property, but we're coming back strong, and our properties have reached that 60% in most cases, or just about to. So that's why we now feel it's a good time to start expanding our model, because our model's working. But I wanted to show you something. Chris asked me to get this, we have an amazing, he was our former treasurer, but he's still on the board, coaching and stuff. He did the speedometer, looking at a whole bunch of stuff about, looking at our average night stays, our 60% rule. And he wanted, because, when a board looks at your income statements, your profit and loss, it's hard to say, like, well, how are you doing? I always show them how many nights people are staying in our properties. Well, this was just a game changer for our board, because we were able to show, I could tell them that Nalaka wasn't doing well, but just last year, it tends to be one of our most popular properties. But this really shows it. But at the same time, I'm able to, with this speedometer, we refer to it as, show them, don't worry, because we are in excellent where we should be in compared to, because he went back and looked at all the different things and set up this model for me. And our speedometer is showing we're right on target, even better than we're on target. And actually, if I was to do that now, or even our next fiscal year, we're already at 53% occupied for Nalaka. We haven't even gone into it. So that makes us feel really good about our future for our stewardship model and getting out of COVID as well. Kipling Carriage House, our smaller properties, I just wanted to show you another one. Our smaller properties generally, because of short-term rental, not because of whole house rental, our properties generally were doing excellent once we were allowed to rent again. And you can see Kipling Carriage House, which is right next door to it, and rents, and basically it's 2 bedrooms, so 4 people can stay in it, did really well. And coming into the next year, continues to do excellent. So we're now working on our new properties and feeling like we've got this stewardship model figured out. It took us a while. We played with the different things, but it looks good. And what else? I just wanted to leave you with a really pretty picture, because they're even bigger. I don't know what it was this year, but everyone's rhododendrons are just doing so well. And just a little bit of history to leave you with, since I seem to have gotten through my presentation fairly quickly. At least I think I did. Am I doing okay, Mark? Yeah, okay. The rhododendron tunnel was not put in by Rudyard Kipling and his family. They had formal gardens closer to the house. This was put in by the Holbrooks, and we did a little research, and we think that some of these trees are about 100 years old. So we're getting ready to propagate and fill in. It still looks great. We're working on invasives over there. And we're also going to have a new fundraising selling, once we begin to propagate for ourselves, we'll be selling some of what we call Kipling's rhododendrons. So stay tuned, and we'll have that hopefully in the next year or so. That's it. Any questions, I guess?
Thank you, Susan. Maybe you should take that presentation down.
Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you. There. Now I'm back. So
I have a happy dollar. Just want to actually, I'll give five happy dollars. My family, members of my family, have rented now 4 of the properties, starting over 10 years ago, and they've always had a fabulous time. Nalaka was a popular favorite, but even out in Whitingham at the Amos Brown House, they're just, all the properties are just fun places for families to come and visit. I appreciate having this in our backyard. And we also rented a place out in Wales. My husband and I took a trip and rented a wonderful little cabin house with a beautiful tower in the back in a field. And it was just a very different kind of experience that we are looking forward to doing again. So thank you.
And that's a really good point, Carla, that we have a lot of international travelers. You know, right now, actually, I think Vermonters are discovering us. We had an article, and I won't get charged for bragging since, but we had an article in the 7 Days, and all of a sudden, people from Burlington didn't even realize we were down here. And we've seen an uptick in Vermont people renting our property. So that's a great thing. But we're looking forward to having some of our international travelers back because they're used to, they're used to the Landmark Trust model.
And Susan, are the schedules online? Can somebody log on and see what is available?
Yes.
And then the second part of that question, particularly for Kipling's House, is it can it be rented for events? Do you have weddings and things like that go on there?
Well, we don't allow weddings in Kipling's house because we try, it's a very important historic property. We do have people that Scott Farm has weddings. We can have up to 120 people at the farm. And then people then rent, because altogether, I believe it's about 22 beds between our 4 local properties. Might be a little bit more. I'd have to do a quick math. 8, 16, 4. Yep, 20, about 22. And then, sometimes people will have the rehearsal dinner at Nalaka, or maybe the brunch after the wedding, but we don't do weddings. So we are contemplating doing micro weddings, the new thing, but who knows if that's going to still keep over at Dutton Farmhouse, and you can get married right overlooking the farm, and then you could have a small dinner. When we say micro, 15 people, so small weddings. We had a real pull people doing that at our properties this past year. So, and we do have people come. If it's not busy, we actually do corporate retreats at Nalaka and the Dutton Farmhouse, and also Scott Farm event room. So that's another underutilized by the community. The people that know just love it, because you can have comfortably 20 people, not staying at Nalaka, but 20 people for a retreat. So, yeah.
Susan, just a quick brag for you and the work of the Landmark Trust. I've had a number of people who stayed in them, but I'd like to split the brag with Carla because I'm hoping at least once every Rotary year someone says Whitingham. So thank you.
Oh, yes, right. Whitingham. Yes, and Amos Brown House has been a sleeper property, but it's now been rediscovered and it's doing great. It's doing great, and you should definitely get them out to Whitingham, Mike. Yeah.
Do we have other questions for Susan on the trust? If not, that was a terrific update and program. Thank you very much for attending our meeting.
And I'm very fortunate to have Chris on our board. He's just a wealth of information.
Great.
Well, thank you, Susan. And it is a great board and a great model. And Carl, I'm so happy that you and your family have been at various places, including Wales. So come and stay and check it out. It's the properties are beautiful, and that's what I find so wonderful and rewarding, that while they're rented, they're also kept in just beautiful condition. So you really get the historic feel of the property. And Susan and company are doing just a really great job.
Oh, can I add one more thing, please? So we do events, we just did the Rhododendron Tour, it's worth coming to. And if you're interested, we are planning another event maybe for the fall at the Dutton Farmhouse. So if you're interested in just being able to see the properties and be part of our education community engagement piece, the best thing, because these events do sell out really quickly, get on our newsletter, and then that way you get in the know right early on.
Mhm.
That's it.
Great,
Good.
thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Welcome.
Okay, that's super. Thank you all, and we will see you next week.